Join the premier event for HR professionals. October 10th to 13th at the Sheraton Norfolk Waterside Hotel. Network with over 40,000 professionals in our vibrant community. Learn from industry leaders and enhance your HR skills. Don't miss our early bird special. Register by June 30th. Visit our website to secure your spot today.
Well, good evening and good afternoon, depending on your time zone, to the friends, families, colleagues, partners, sponsors of NAAA HR. I am so delighted as your National President CEO to have this hour opportunity to be sitting with our wonderful, illustrious chairman, Mr. Nat Alston, who is going to deliver to all of you some learning, some tips, some knowledge sharing on artificial intelligence and the future thereof. And tonight, I'm just so proud to be having this conversation with him. I swear he is the subject matter expert of all things technology. And I say, had it not been for our chairman, I probably would not have had my first tablet. I probably would not know how to use different devices. He showed me early on, if you're going to play with the big boys, you got to have the big toys. So I am delighted. He needs no introduction. His resume is far too long, and his credentials far outweigh all of us and exceed all of us. But without further ado, I would like to present to some of you, introduce to many of you, but certainly a friend of all of you, Mr. Nat Alston, our chairman and founder of NAAA HR. Nat, take it away, sir.
Erica, thank you so much. I'm smiling when you say that now in terms of what we're going to speak about tonight in terms of technology and all. And one of the things that we hope tonight that people will at least get from us is yours and my enthusiasm about embracing technology.
Mm-hmm, yes.
And that was one of the things that I can say really as a story teller rather. I've embraced technology almost really at the early beginning when my children were younger and they were in middle school and high school, and the old technology was coming in now. And I'm going back not even to an Xbox now, but I can't even think of the old machines that they were using.
Like Atari.
That's right, the Atari. That's right, the Atari. So some of our members may not even heard of that Atari, but I'm a little older, and yeah, I remember the Atari. But what really got me was really that, and I said to myself, I'm going to embrace technology. I'm going to embrace it, not just the idea of using it, but learning from it, being enthusiastic about it, and just loving every bit of it. So I've moved from the old computer to remember the old cell phones when they weren't cell phones, they were mobile phones. And I went out. Yep. I had one of those in my car. And when they didn't even call them cell phones, they called them portable phones and the car phones and all of those things. So we basically has been something that has stuck with me throughout my entire career. And really, I could say in the last maybe 20 to 30 years, I've always embraced technology. And as human resource professionals, guess what? We've seen it go from paper to what we call now HRIS, Human Resource Information Systems.
Yes.
And
Indeed.
even then, we've old enough now to see the growth of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Who would have thought the internet would have changed our lives?
Yeah.
And it truly has now, where people can go on the portals and go on websites now and do a lot of work through the internet. And what we're doing right now is a virtue of the internet.
It
So
is.
AI, artificial intelligence, is just to me another added value or added notch to the information superhighway or the AI, artificial intelligence. And I got hooked. Give you a quick story. I got hooked on AI about a year ago. It happened around May.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my business colleagues was doing a presentation on AI. And she was talking about how AI assisted her in writing her book.
Yeah.
And when I wanted to really look at those books, and I said, "You mean to tell me you're writing a book using AI?" And she said, "Yes."
Mm-hmm.
So she gave me a little bit of a bite, and I wanted more. And after getting a lot more, I was hooked.
Wow.
So I'm hooked on all of that now. So what you're going to see now is basically what I see, and want your feedback, Erica, as much as we possibly can, is
Sure.
now the topic of tonight's discussion: AI and the future of work. Because we're seeing now how AI is now picking up speed and picking up steam, where a year ago or 2 years ago, people will go, "What's this AI stuff that you're talking about?" Well,
Yeah.
guess what? It's here. It is truly here. And as we said, the topic now: artificial intelligence and the future of work. And as you know, there's so many now AI platforms out there.
Mm-hmm.
And can you share which ones you're using, maybe for an example?
Yeah, so I just started getting introduced to ChatGPT, and much like your friend who introduced you to AI, I thought about taking my unpublished book and running it through to clean it up, to do its edits. Once upon a time we had ghostwriters, and now we have
Hmm.
AI that's doing it for you. So yes, sir, I'm at the early stages myself, but even in HR, we use artificial intelligence like Textio to rewrite our job descriptions and provide, some language and terminology recommendations. So you're right, it's hitting all four corners of business and the way we work, quite frankly.
Yeah. And so when we look at the future of AI and we go into the how we're using it now to automate our work and all, so you're really now seeing the automation of routine tasks. I
Hmm.
mean, and you mentioned job descriptions. Hey, where before we would type those up or cut and paste, now you can pretty much go on there, write a prompt, and the next thing you know, you got a complete job description.
Complete job description.
So
Yep.
we're seeing now those tasks allowing us to take those mundane tasks, particularly in HR, put that either in some of those AI platforms like a Chat GPT or Copy or Beautiful, whichever you want to use. And it's about, hundreds of them, but there's about 20 that people are now using. But that's
Mm.
what it's doing. It's increasing that time that people can focus on strategic things. And it's going to, as we said here in the slide, improve overall productivity, because it takes that mundane task out of the equation now. So we're
Hmm.
seeing more and more automation. And I would say to, what we're seeing in our HR, don't push it away, but embrace it.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Sure.
Embrace it. And because I would say to everyone, even in the beginning or at the end of our talk tonight, AI is here to stay.
Sure is.
And it's picking up steam. As much as we say slow it down, no, even while we're talking now, AI is definitely moving even further. So
Hmm.
as it says here, it'll give us as employers and employees more time. And when that time now, it puts us in a much different mindset in terms of strategic and overall potential outcome or potential future of that organization or your business. Your
Mhm.
thoughts?
Yeah, yeah. And so I wonder, Nat, I grew up in the IBM era of a full wall being a motherboard, to
Hmm.
then computers and even typewriters turning digitally into a computer driven keyboard. And my time started with dot matrix, right?
Hmm.
Before
Hmm.
before we even had anything called a world wide web, right? um, do you feel that, and just this is a matter of opinion, that we as humans can become so reliant on artificial intelligence that we're no longer thinking for ourselves, and allowing AI to think for us? So, um, innovation, again, just kind of going back
Hmm.
to some of the legacy of work that IBM had produced to where we are today. Do we feel that, and I hear you, embrace it because it's not going anywhere, right? But I also don't want humans to feel less valued because artificial intelligence is just that far advanced.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think really what AI does really is make us think more critically.
Hmm.
And it, as I said earlier in the slide, it takes those routine tasks, takes those out of the equation. I mean, the most funny AI out there is Alexa.
Yeah, I know. How about that?
I mean, if anyone is on Amazon and Alexa, guess what? It's AI. When they'll call me or shall we give me a notification, and I'll say, well, what's the notification? They say, well, based on your buying habits, it's time for you to think about what is that? They're
Right.
collecting that data.
That's right.
They're
That's right.
collecting that data and letting you know, okay, you've bought this product back maybe 2, 3 weeks ago or a month ago. You've used it now. It's time for you to, guess what? Buy it again.
That's, yes, yes.
Yep. Yep.
And you
And
hit on
as
a really good point, Nat, because even when we think about um, talk in text, right? So you can talk into your cell phone and it's texting
hmm
for you, or Microsoft Word, you can actually dictate through the auto record and auto read in Microsoft Word. So I don't think people realize how long artificial intelligence has been in existence. Even when you think about websites that you go to and it says accept all cookies, that's
hmm
also collecting data on your
yes,
habits, on your,
yes,
yeah. So you're so spot on. Tell us more, Nat.
yeah, basically what we said too is analyzing all the data,
Hmm.
and it gets back into what we've said before: data analytics. We collect all this data, and then the question would be, what do we do with it? How do we
Yeah,
handle it?
yeah.
How do we massage it? And what you're seeing now in all of these social media, the algorithms now can analyze that data far quicker than what we can.
Hmm.
And what we can do in terms of AI is basically have that data analyzed to what we want to make sure that we want from it. So
Mm.
then it will help us to make those decisions, optimizing really our business process, and opens up new opportunities. So
Mhm.
again, it, as we stated, it enhances the decision making, where you
Mm.
don't have to worry about, okay, what do we do now, or
Mm.
how we're going to handle this, and wow, we may miss something. Well,
Yeah.
AI basically now is enhancing that, and I can share with you too what is happening too in the healthcare arena.
Mm. Okay.
AI is doing a lot more now in terms of analyzing medical histories, medical records, and all, and it's helping to diagnose diseases or potential diseases where humans may miss it. That algorithm is picking it up now, and it's making sure that that physician or doctor or surgeon can make now a critical decision whether or not a specific surgery or not is needed. Where before they would miss that, they're not missing it now, or the, shall we say, the percentage of missing that is now far lower than it would be under human terms, so to speak.
How about that? And so no longer are the days, and I know you'll be able to resonate with this, no longer are the days of things like the Tuskegee experiment, right? We
Hmm.
are not using humans in any particular classification for medical study and advancement. And to your point, it eliminates any type of demographic disparity when it comes to healthcare for Blacks and minorities, right? Because now you have artificial intelligence doing the diagnosis rather than medical decisions being based on your race or your culture.
Yeah. And again, weaving through the human resources threads, let's say you and I being HR professionals, and even in the healthcare arena, it will enhance that particular person, whether he or she is a surgeon or a nurse practitioner or anyone that's in the medical field. It's going to enhance their performance.
Mm,
And it's also going to give an opportunity for that person to create, even in the healthcare or whatever field that's in, that's data driven, enhance their performance.
hmm
And if that person needs later on, let's say, a performance improvement plan,
hmm
guess what? AI can help develop that particular PIP in that particular arena, mapping out that person's plan for their career growth.
Sure,
So
sure.
there's so many opportunities out there, and it just basically takes out a lot of that human element where
hmm
we can say, well, wait a minute, we're basing this on data, the algorithms, and we're not putting in our own personal touch to it to a degree.
So
Where
true.
that can really get us in, as you know, can get us into some trouble sometimes in terms of employee relations.
It's sure. And I say all the time, Nat, it has to be fact over feeling. No matter
Yes,
what, in HR, it has to be fact over feeling. The data is going to drive the facts. The feelings have to be kind of put on the shelf. Fact over
yes,
feeling.
absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. And the more and more that we embrace that, the better it's going to be for the company and for the individual themselves. Because again, here again, they'll know that this is based on fact, not the
Mhm.
feelings or the culture, so to speak, of that individual in there. So it will definitely, I see it enhancing the decision making. And I'm just loving every bit of it in terms of that. So have you experienced anything in your work right now that basically has enhanced that decision making?
Actually, I was on a call last week for one of the organizations that I sit on the board for, and we were talking about recruiting strategies using artificial intelligence to create and draft our recruiting strategies. And so, I've been doing this work for quite some time now, so I'm not new to talent acquisition or human resources or even talent management. But those that are new, and it could be their first time putting together a recruiting strategy or a business strategy. I think tapping into, you said at the beginning of the call, embrace it. Don't be afraid of it. Don't run away from it. Maybe start building your strategies using artificial intelligence to see where it can take you. Success or failure, it's worth a try.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And we got some questions coming in too, and I don't want to push them aside around there.
Yeah,
We have one question. What made, and I'm also directed to you as well as I,
sure.
what made us comfortable with embracing change? Well, I'll say this right now. For me, it was just a mindset. And
Mm,
I guess I embrace change not just in terms of the AI or learning new things. I also will have to say I embrace change because I've changed jobs a lot too,
mm,
where I had to learn. So changing jobs and changing, I won't say careers because it's always been in the HR field, but changing industries. Because
yeah,
I guess really I've always had a desire, even probably as a young child, learning new things.
yeah,
I always wanted to learn new things.
yeah,
And once it became routine, boredom sets in, I wanted to learn something new.
sure.
And so really basically been, I guess you can say, the hallmark of my career is I've always wanted change for the new, not just change for change's sake, but
Hmm.
learning new things. And
Hmm.
so when I'm in an environment now that's constantly evolving or constantly changing, yes, that's
Yeah.
something that I really, excuse me, I really can relate to. What about your thoughts?
I have to echo that. I'm a continual learner. I love learning new things. I probably get myself in trouble because you give me a statement and I'm going to start building a paragraph. One of my very dear friends and colleagues says that about me all the time. He says, Erica, I give you a vision statement and you've written a full dissertation on it. So I love to learn new things. I love to what I call a deep dive or digging deeper into whatever it is that I'm learning. So I think for me to embrace artificial intelligence was a matter of, okay, there's something new happening in the world and I've got to stay up with the times and keep up with this. So I'm going to have not only have to learn it for my job's sake, but I want to learn it for my sake because I'm just a continual learner in that same vein that you talked about. I just always want to know what's new, what's happening, what's going on. This also gives you, in my opinion, a seat at the table, right? Instead
Hmm.
of the wallflower, you're actually a seat at the table. The more you learn and you can embrace things that are changing, particularly with artificial intelligence, the more that you take some life lessons and apply them to business lessons. And what can you take away from that? Artificial intelligence is here to help us navigate through some of those changes. And we all take risks every day, right?
Hmm.
Or else we're just kind of sitting around twiddling our thumbs. So why not embrace artificial intelligence and what it can do for you and with you in the workplace?
Yeah, we definitely, I totally agree with that. And I'm just saying too, I saw one of the comments was making that lifelong learning keeps you relevant. And I will agree with that because I always would say to you, Erica, and our NRRR members and our board that I'm a millennial in a baby boomer's body.
Hmm. Yeah, yes, you are.
And I use that jokingly, but at the same time, that's always been one of my key points too, is remaining relevant out there. So I want to know what Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z is talking about and
Yeah,
how they're going to and they're thinking. Because
yeah.
when we move to that workforce transformation, when we think about, let's even incorporate NRRR, the next 25 years, we're talking about a new workforce that
Mhm.
artificial intelligence will be the standard.
That's right.
And so, yes, when we see AI will change the nature of jobs, some roles become obsolete. Yet that's in every avenue. When change
Mhm.
is coming in and new technology is coming in, new ways of doing things, if people don't really adapt to that change or basically adapt and pick up new skills, they will become obsolete.
That's right.
We look at data analytics and cybersecurity. 20, 30 years ago, we never even heard of it.
That's right.
Now that's standard. You've got certifications in cybersecurity. So
Mhm.
continuously learning and love the upskilling
Yeah,
definitely is going to be crucial. And our young people that are part of NRRR are aware of that.
yeah.
I mean, I've got grandchildren who grew up on what? A tablet, cell
Mhm.
phone,
Sure,
virtual.
sure,
I mean, that's in their whole DNA now. So
sure.
anything that's paper driven or, oh, I've got to fill it out in hard copy, no, I'd rather go online and fill it into a portal. So
Right,
that's what we're looking at right now.
right.
So it's basically something that we've got to embrace and understand that it's going to change the landscape.
Hmm.
And if we don't, we'll become obsolete ourselves.
That's right. That's right. And we have to be very careful because we can also artificial intelligence and this whole world of cyberspace can also be a detriment when it's used for the wrong purposes.
Hmm.
We see a rise in online bullying, among our young people, but it's not just even with young folks. We see it happening even with mature adults. So when we're taking something that is artificial and using it to do the very opposite, then we can find ourselves getting in trouble. And I see Dr. LaKanya Murchison, her question here is using AI in business cheating only if you're using it to cheat, only if you're using it in that negative frame, in my opinion. Is it cheating? Not when you understand the rules of the game and you understand the technology, but you also have to have a purpose for why are and I'll go back to recruiting strategies. Why are you using artificial intelligence to help you put together a recruiting strategy? I wouldn't consider it a form of cheating, but enhancing my knowledge to perhaps something I don't know.
Hmm.
So it's an enhancement. It's a partner almost.
Yeah, and I see in the comments too when we talk about cheating in there, and particularly what we've seen in higher education, where people
Mhm.
are doing their dissertations in terms of now they've got to interject plagiarism software in there.
Yeah.
Yes, I do agree. There's an ethical issue that definitely AI is going to have to address, but at the same time, if the person, they've still got to check it. I guess I'm saying to AI, yes, you see it there,
Hmm.
and you just can't take whatever they give you, whatever, let's say Chat GPT or the other software and AI gives you. You've got to still read it and make sure that it's authentic, something that you would do,
Yeah.
not something that someone else would do. So it goes back to what you said. If that data is tainted or it's basically somebody else's data in there, and it, particularly if you know it. And I think AI's got to get to a point where you can determine that. And you said it, there's software out there to detect that. So you got to be careful. And if there's AI software to detect the plagiarism, fine. At
Hmm.
least you got to go through that particular hoop to make sure that what you're saying is yours.
Is yours.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Mr. Chairman, you couldn't have said it better because let's be real. Plagiarism didn't start with artificial intelligence. It
that's
started
true.
with copy and paste. You copy somebody else's work and you paste it into your own. That's where plagiarism really started. You're taking somebody else's body of work and claiming it to be your own. That's human error. That's not artificial
Hmm.
intelligence error. So for academia, again, going back to part of your original comment starting this call, when we were paper and pen, forging information, and book reports, and that's where plagiarism really started. So you can't always um, fault artificial intelligence for doing the work for you. It's that human mindset that is really plagiarizing the work. And I saw the comment in, artificial intelligence is only as good as information that's put into it. That's correct. Who's putting the information into it? It's collecting human information. So
Hmm.
when we get it wrong, AI gets it wrong.
Absolutely. Truly agree with that 100%. And then when we move on to the personalization and employee experience, I did mention that a little bit earlier. If you want to design, let's say, that career development plan for yourself
Mm-hmm.
using AI, absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, I can see that being used in any and all fields in there. When you're talking about training programs, what's out there, I mean, let's face it, as far as us in HR, I could see us developing a employment or career improvement plan using AI, but also getting information from HRCI and
Sure.
putting it in the context of a career development plan on what I need to move from that HR generalist to maybe an HR specialist or that HR director to a C-suite person. And what are the courses that are out there that you feel that AI feels that you should at least be thinking about.
Right.
It's not something in cement, as we said before. It's suggestive training programs, but it's not in cement. But it'll help you at least reach your career goals and also possibly improve your performance. So,
Mhm.
we used to do those, what I said earlier, the PIPs,
Yeah.
performance improvement plans. Look how long it would take us per person to do a PIP,
Yeah.
even if it was for us or even for the employee.
Hmm.
It would
Sure.
take a lot of time.
Hmm.
Well, possibly, again, it's not solely relying on AI, but it can definitely enhance and improve the quality and also cut back on the time.
Hmm. Yeah. And to again, fact over feeling, because as humans, when we are writing a performance plan or we're receiving a performance plan, it's got to be fact over feeling. It doesn't matter how the chairman feels about me. What is the evidence that I'm giving to him to work on this performance plan? So it's got to be fact driven and not feeling driven.
Yeah.
Agree with
Yeah.
you.
And then once you get that in there and you pass it around the entire team and that person signs off on it, it gives it a lot more credibility.
Yeah.
And that's going back to your point. It's not that feeling, it's now based on fact, based on data. And again, once that person is involved in it, you can also track it
Yes.
with AI
Yes.
and see how well that person is performing under those particular circumstances or under those particular career plans, and seeing what the outcome, and that data becomes also usable for the application to other people.
Sure, sure.
And so again, it's a point where we're thinking again for us as experienced HR professionals, and we're looking to recruit, as you said, talent acquisition, getting people coming into the field or that have a degree but want to enter into that particular company or into that particular institution. AI is going to help them, and it's
Mm,
going to help them now gain entrance but also progress up.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And where
Well,
we have to be very careful is when we're talking about, remote work and collaboration. As Dr. Murchison asked, is using AI in business is it cheating? Well, similar with remote work and collaboration, we need to make sure still, whether you're using AI or not, that your work is credible work. So I get your point completely, and I think it's important and very relevant in the workforce today because we're all now behind screens for the most part, right? A lot of the country still sitting behind a desk and behind a screen and not in the office. So collaborative conversations become a little more difficult. And, being able to walk down the hall to really sit down and map out a strategy, pen to paper, becomes a little more difficult. So having AI to help kind of circumvent some of that work to keep employees engaged and keep team members engaged. What do you think about that, Mr. Chairman?
yeah, I think that's the way to go, because here again, with COVID, as it states there, it changed the whole landscape. And I think LinkedIn some time back did a survey of, when you look at Gen X, Y, and Z's, they're not really looking for that 5-day work week anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I can't quote the exact percentage that they listed, but it was not 100% was looking for a complete return to work.
Yeah.
And it's basically now into a 3 category where, okay, a certain percentage, and I know it was under 50%, was saying, okay, I'm ready to go back 5 days a week. But then others wanted a hybrid. Others wanted that hybrid to be at least 3 days a week. And I've got family members and friends that hybrid now is 1 day a week. And in some cases, it's 2 or 3 days a month.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the other side of the coin, to the extreme, it's total remote, because that's what now is attracting people.
Sure.
So you've got that person. When we look at AI, how do I keep track of that person's compliance and keep track of that company policies and procedures being followed, where that person now used to be in San Francisco,
Mm-hmm.
but he or she now, because I can work remote, is in Des Moines, Iowa.
That's right.
And I can come in to work in the office, as you said, to see my peers maybe once a month or once every 3 months.
Sure.
But now I'm totally working now 2,000-3,000 miles away or at home, not facing all the traffic. All right, how does now AI come in there, as it states, tracking what employee performance? Can we
Mm-hmm.
predict any particular turnover and suggest any retention strategies? Yes, it can, but that's how now AI has got to move to the future to track those and now address those basic standardized work
Mm-hmm.
ethics, and then also looking at streamlining that entire hiring process. So how
Mm-hmm.
do you now interview, hire, benefit administration using AI, when now I say to you, Erica, and the team, yes, you're headquartered in San Francisco or New York, but I'm now in what? Des Moines, Iowa, or
Mm-hmm.
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do now by managing all that talent and tracking just what it says, the job
Mm-hmm.
performance, the turnover, and then come up with retention strategies?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I'm looking at onboarding strategies as well. Um,
Okay.
really being able to engage because we are in a different work environment now. We have five generations in the workforce, and those of us that's my age and above, up to into your category. We're used to being in the office 5 days a week.
Hmm.
And truth be told, in the office 5 days a week, but technically working 6 days a week because the clock really didn't stop at 5 o'clock, right? So we were still working off the clock and well into the weekends. But there's a new generation, two generations below me, that are used to a more hybrid or completely remote approach and working the essential and core hours. So when we think about that retention strategy, I think we should also embrace onboarding strategies because
Hmm.
you got to give that employee a full experience from day one till the last day of retirement. And these are some of the things that AI can help us with to improve onboarding all the way to retention.
You mentioned that, and I was thinking about a friend of mine also worked for a company that was a defense contractor, and she is in the budget department. And
Hmm.
this is back when AI was still coming and during the COVID.
Mm.
Prior to COVID and AI, and it was really in sync with each other because this company was that far advanced. They were doing the budget manually, and they had a history of being at least a week or 2 weeks late
Mm.
getting the budget rolled out to the entire group.
Mm.
Okay, COVID hit, and then AI was coming on because they're far advanced. Well, guess what happened? They did the budget, the entire budget team remotely,
Mm.
and they finished the budget a week early
I was gonna say in advance. Yep.
in advance of the and historically and culturally, everyone knew in the department that they didn't have to worry about it because the budget department was always 1 to 2 weeks late.
Hmm.
So now they're coming 2 weeks early,
The
and
audacity.
the head of the budget department just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So he told them, go back, do it again, run the
Mm.
numbers again, and the
Hmm.
numbers were great. But it changed the whole entire culture because they got it a week early, and the department chair said, if you're doing this remotely and you're coming in early, going back to what we said, predicting job performance, hey, let's keep it
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep it remote.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they've modified it a little bit, again, using AI as far as the finance and all. But now they're only coming in one day every 10 days.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow.
So talk about improved recruitment and talent management. Yeah, I may not be in the recruitment, but it sure helps the retention,
Sure.
because now that person is saying, I can meet the people, I can do it collaboratively with AI, with all the virtual platforms. But now the old traditional methods are obsolete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 And Nat, we've been talking about AI from a corporate and a little bit of academia, but are there other industries that we should be talking about? And probably near and dear to you, the police force, or even I would say, in military.
Yeah, yeah. I think, well, I would say the military probably, and I'm guessing a little bit because of their regimentation and all and standardization, they may be a prime target for that. I would also say when you talk about the military too, guess what? Internet came from the military.
You're right. You are right.
The internet was definitely developed by the military. So back to your question, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's something that, yeah, that particular industry or that particular department, the military. But I think AI is going to touch everything. I mean, when you look at it now, and you've got what was the old movie out there that had AI? Oh, I can't think of it, the person now. It'll come to me. I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, we're still learning. And I think really when we look at AI across the board, AI still is going to be something that we humans can still manage and control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we've just got to be aware of that.
Yeah.
I think definitely you're going to see, as we mentioned way back in the beginning of our program, you're going to see AI definitely in the area of robotics out there that's going to do those tasks that
Sure.
basically man would do. I mean, you can see AI now. You said an industry, the automobile industry definitely is using AI.
For sure.
So, but what that does is it eliminates the manual job, but it also creates what? The highly skilled jobs,
Highly skilled.
the
Yep.
critical thinking jobs out there. So
Yeah.
it's going to be something that I think that people can use and will say, if I'm going to enter to this field, what are the future skills, knowledge, skills, and abilities that I'm going to have to gain entrance and also to progress.
Yes.
And if I can use an AI platform on that, fine, to enter into that field, have it map out a course of action for me in terms of schools or technical or whatever experience and knowledge I need to do, hey, I'm going to have that.
You're right. You are so right. You're
The
very
other
right.
thing that we talked about too here, and I think this is something that we basically got to be very sensitive and aware of, is the ethical and societal implications.
For sure.
And we look at it in the social media aspect of it, these algorithms, and you mentioned it, the bullying.
Hmm.
We look at it now with fake news going out there using AI. So we've got to be really sensitive, aware, and make sure that we adopt ethical practices. I
Hmm.
think what you said earlier, facts, fairness, accountability, we've got to do it.
Hmm.
We need it. And for us as a human resources organization and being human resource professionals, the ethic and societal implications is paramount for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And perhaps it's, if it's not already written into our policies, it needs to be.
Yeah, yeah, it's got to be in there. And I think too, you raise another point. When we look at our employee handbooks,
Yep.
do we include that this handbook was comprised or whatever percentage of AI usability in there? Did we use AI to create this handbook?
For sure. For sure.
And at the same time, we've got to make sure that that AI statement or whatever includes that the ethical and societal implications or ramifications will definitely be addressed,
Mhm.
because we cannot allow it to get out of hand, and that we've got to ensure, hey, the transparency and accountability.
Yeah, and where we need to treat one another, as you have on here, with fairness, and transparency, without repercussions, without the in office bullying through artificial intelligence, because it's very high. It's easy to hide behind AI, and it's very easy to hide behind something that is identified by anything other than a human. So when we use it for unethical reasons and practices, that's where HR should really take a strong look at our policies to ensure that that's not happening.
Yeah, I agree. And I think too, when you say that HR in concert with if the organization has a general counsel or an employment lawyer or something like that, we've got to make sure that the company understands that, yes, to our employees, we believe in AI. We're going to be in that jet stream of it. But at the same time, we realize its limitations.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
realize in a lot of cases that it's not going to be the total application that we use across the board,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that we've got to humanize it as much as we possibly can.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
people have to be aware of that. And I think as we move forward as an organization, as far as NRRHR, we've got to be aware of that. And
Hmm.
we've got to make sure that our members are aware of that. That yes, AI is here. AI is going to be in the future, going to be a standard practice that's out there.
Hmm.
But at the same time, we've got to make sure, as we say in terms of our conclusion here, that the ethical practices have got to be included in there,
Hmm.
and that we're going to take that proactive approach in there. But at the same time, we want to leverage as much as we possibly can AI's full potential.
Hmm.
Because here again, we're only basing it, Erica, as I see it, on what we know now.
Hmm.
And what we said before, celebrating our 25th anniversary going into our 26th, we don't know what the next 4 years will bring in terms of AI.
That's right.
But we've got to be very vigilant out there and recognizing that, hey, we're still shaping the future, not just letting AI do the whole work.
Hmm. Hmm.
Artificial intelligence, to me, is not shall I put it this way? The human mind is still going to be in control.
Gosh, that's right.
When I look at this from my vantage point, being a senior out there, this was invented by humans,
Hmm.
and the human mind, the human intelligence is still going to have to be, and I firmly believe that human brain is still going to be in control.
That's right. That's right.
AI will be a tool. Don't get me wrong, it'll be a tool, just like a toolbox. It'll
Hmm.
be a tool, but it's up to us to control it, to be ethical in its use, to be non-discriminatory, because we can create that algorithm to wipe out people who look like us.
Sure.
And we've got companies out there possibly that are thinking that way. I'm not naive to think that, oh, this is going to be a panacea and everybody's going to play by the rules and be ethical in there. We've got
Sure.
to be careful. I think we as an organization have got to be careful, and looking in the future, we've got to find out what companies are using AI and to what extent.
That's right.
That's in terms of our growth as an organization, and to see people who look like you and I in the field of HR, not just in HR, but across the board.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it can be used in any field or any vocation, accounting, nursing, healthcare, you name it, education, the selection of, who knows, the selection of provosts or presidents or
That's right.
whatever. You
Mhm.
can change that algorithm to slant it to wherever you want. And we see that now.
Yeah, yeah. And I've been challenging some of my talent acquisition and talent management colleagues. Um, they might want to go back and look at questions that are being asked on applications, right? Because it's all going through an applicant tracking system. For those that are not still paper, there's still some businesses that use paper applications, but for the most part, most industries are using electronic applications. And I think employers really need to go back, TA particularly, and look at the questions that are being asked, because some of them are outdated and not following the letter of the law according to affirmative action and EEOC. So, I put that out there. So anyone who's listening in, if you are in the role of head of TA or HR, to really look at your ATS system and ensure that the questions that are being asked, because it takes one person, and we saw that happen with a guru in applicant tracking systems. This one particular company found themselves in a lawsuit for, just one person saying, I was discriminated against based on your algorithm in your ATS system. I was discriminated against. And now as we conclude, I want to ask you, so we're coming up October of this year, will be our next conference. And the theme of it is, this is so on time what you're presenting to us today. The conference theme, connecting yesterday to tomorrow at the intersection of today. And the purpose, as we came together as office of the chair, when you, William, Carl, myself, Ivan, when we came together to meet about the conference and the topic, it was the legacy of the yesterday, the intelligence of an innovation of tomorrow, but the urgency of now. So bringing these 5 generations in the workplace, all the subject matter experts that are going to be speaking on just that connectivity. A lot of the topics are right down the lane of AI.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Very much so. And I think what you said in terms of the 5 generations now, this is something that we've got to at least look at for the next 10 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've got my generation now that are looking at, okay, returning back to the workforce, and not so-called the traditional retirees as our parents were. So they
Sure.
still, you look at AARP and all, and they're talking about jobs for seniors now. So yes, you've got those 5 generations in there. Each of them have their own values. Each of them have their own work habits and all. And the threat of AI coming in needs to be discussed, because as I mentioned to you earlier, I've got an 11-year-old granddaughter, and she is so hooked up on terms of what the technology is. And just think, AI in the next 5 years, when she becomes a senior, just where will it be? We don't know.
Yeah.
But we at least should be in the mindset of how can we control that and
Mm-hmm.
look at that next time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm seeing in the comment, maybe AI can help pick the next presidential nominee. Well, let's hope that it's after this particular election season, because sure enough, there will be someone in on one side or the other that will see it being rigged, as we saw the attempt of stealing the votes the last time,
Yeah.
which was a farce. But
Yeah, and I see in here too, some universities now, hey, AI majors. Yes, they do. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's plausible.
Yeah, that's very plausible out there.
Yeah.
And it's something that when we look at now, even from our HBCUs, and we've got an HBCU initiative in Triple HR, those AI majors out there that are being offered by some of the universities are going to increase.
Mm-hmm.
And let's face it, again, I go back to my 11 and 14-year-old. When they get ready to go to college, will that be attractive to them?
Yeah.
What's the application process? What's the scholarship process? Do I go through I can go use AI now to identify what scholarships I can prepare myself for.
Mm-hmm.
So the creative thinking is really what I'm getting at in terms of artificial intelligence. The intelligence of the human mind, as we're talking about creating an AI major software for plagiarism. Well, there can be a software out there to identify majors out there or identify scholarship opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And how do I apply using AI to enhance my opportunity to get that scholarship?
Mm-hmm.
So all that's critical thinking that we're talking about as far as questions, but when we integrate the term AI to it, it changes the whole complexity of that particular operation or that particular thought or that particular industry or that particular whatever. It changes that.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
That's what we have got to be aware of. And I'm thinking, Erica, as we definitely close, that when we look at each conference and for even our chapter leaders, you've got to start thinking this way in terms of the future is here. AI is not going anywhere. And you cannot say, I'm going to close my eyes to it, but you embrace it. As I said earlier, you get in front of it and understand that that critical thinking that you have done in the past is going to take on a whole new dimension using AI.
That's right.
And the quicker that you embrace that concept and understand that your critical thinking is going to help shape that, because you've embraced it, then puts you at the table, puts you at that seat at the table. So you're now not sitting on the outside, but you're on the inside shaping it with your thoughts and ideas and keeping the ethical and the society norms running through AI. And that's how I see it going forward.
That's right. Mr. Chairman, we appreciate you tremendously, dropping knowledge and nuggets on all of us. And, for our listeners, I just want to thank you once again for your time, talent, and treasure. You always bring it, sir. And for as long as you can, we ask that you continue to bring it. And again, I'll just say this now and leading up to the conference and then there in the conference, we're continuing these conversations, connecting yesterday to tomorrow at the intersection of today. Topics like artificial intelligence and the future of the workforce. We're going to be talking about this, ladies and gentlemen, from now until we get to conference and therein. So let's not close the dialogue today because we have so much more to talk about. But we want to thank our chairman, Mr. Nat Alston, for the research that he's done, the presentation that he's given, and certainly, connect with us, info@NAAAhr.org is our email address. Again, that's info@NAAAhr.org, or you can go online at www.NAAAhr.org. And Nat, as I think about it, once upon a time, we did call it the World Wide Web.
That's true. That's
we
true.
Called it out, right?
That is so true.
AI is not new. It's been around for a minute. It's
been a while. It's been a while.
Embrace it, and as Nat said, use it for the ethical reasons and progression in the workforce, not to negate, but to progress. Mr. Chairman, I applaud you. Thank you.
No, Erica, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and definitely want to ensure that, hey, this is where we're going. This is why you need to join the National Association of African Americans in Human Resources. This is your organization. And Erica and I, along with the other members of the board and our national, we want to see you all in October in Norfolk, Virginia.
That's right. Thank you all for your time and attention this evening. Everyone have a wonderfully blessed night and the remainder of your week. Thank you.
Thank you.